Hey there, everybody. This is White Panther coming to you from Tucson, Arizona with the epilogue, the summary, the wrap-up, the post-game show, if you will, of Volume 1 of our video series Inside the Panther's Lair. I hope you enjoyed some of the stories about the backgrounds behind how the songs got written, some of the stuff that we had fun with in the studio and laying them down. I have to send a huge thank you to my engineer and musician Steve Tracy, who did all the work for me on the first album. Also, a huge thank you to Lorraine, the owner of Draco Studios, who made as much of Steve's limited time before he left the studio available to me. I basically sopped up every last available moment that he had. They were extremely accommodating, and they made what could have been a very daunting experience just so comfortable. They definitely helped, I won't necessarily say light the fire, but definitely stoke the fire in me to want to continue to come into the studio and lay down more and more recordings. And good Lord, the fire's been raging because I've been writing them faster than I'm ever going to be able to record them. So once again, a huge thank you to you all there at Draco, and Lorraine, especially to you, a huge hug. Love you and miss you. I really need to come by and see you sometime soon. We will be starting on Volume 2 very shortly. Volume 2 is the next chapter in the series. And speaking of next chapters, might as well spend a moment or two on the transition. I mentioned the musician and engineer that I had been working with at Draco, Steve Tracy, was had a limited amount of time. We basically worked together just about a month between Thanksgiving and New Year's of 2010. And Steve was had some obligations that were taking him elsewhere. And I was kind of... Good God, I was kind of like an addict, looking for my next fix, trying to figure out where I was going to get my next recordings done. And we looked around a bit, and Steve recommended a friend of his, who is now a very good friend of mine. I consider the guy almost like a brother, Mr. George W. Nardo of Lunar Recording Studios, also in Tucson on Speedway Boulevard, just a couple miles up the road from Draco. I mentioned the next chapter a few moments ago, and again, as much as I enjoyed, as much as I just loved being in the studio at Draco and getting those first sets of recordings done. I'm still proud of every last one of them. But even when you're reading a good book, nobody lingers on chapter 1. Eventually, it's time to turn the page and move on to the next chapter, which, in my particular case, had me leaving the folks at Draco. Still love them all to death. And finding my paisan George. I still think it's hysterical that George and I grew up just miles from each other out on Long Island in New York. And I had to come all the way to Tucson to meet the guy. We will tell you all about those sessions in the upcoming Volume 2. But in the meantime, once again, I really hope you enjoyed the stories of how I started writing songs, how I started recording songs, and the details of a little bit of what went on in the writing and recording of each of the individual tracks on my first demo CD in my truck. So with that, once again, I will thank you all for listening and watching and putting up with me rambling, for putting up with birds continually squawking in the background. I kind of thought it was cute. It was something that added a little flavor to the videos, but I have a feeling we'll try to isolate the birds, or probably I'll isolate myself so we don't hear the birds when I start filming Volume 2. So anyway, once again, as always, this is White Panther asking you to keep music in your hearts. And as always, may God bless you all. Thanks for watching.